This is the secret market on Facebook that no one will tell you about. By the way, if you want the system that we're covering in this video as a free checklist, grab the link in the description. You can have a PDF of everything we talked about. For the last 3 weeks, I've been doing a new thing called the $100 test. What is a $100 test? The goal of $100 tests is to spend $100 on a new business concept and make $1,000 in revenue. Simple mathematics, and that's what we're doing. This was inspired a little bit by my chat with Dr. Mehr, who's the founder of MentorBox, former NASA scientist. He has this thing as well where he'll test businesses until one makes a massive amount of revenue. That's how he found MentorBox. I've tried this in the past with a little bit less structure. If you go back and watch the cold email video on mobile chat, I consider that an early $100 test. And the one we did in India for the walnuts, that also was a $100 test, even though we spent 15. So I have a few more that we're trying, but today I want to talk about one specifically, which is selling vintage clothes on eBay. Let's do it. First, let's talk a little bit about the test. All business tests come down to two things. I'll show you this. It's a test we're currently running, current business test, rap beats to Instagram rappers. Hopefully we'll have a video on that soon. I'm doing that with my little brother for his rap beats, but I am tracking all my tests on this whiteboard here. So the one we're going over right now was last week's test. The product is vintage Las Vegas, and the niche, the market, is people that love vintage clothes. Now, this is all coming out of nowhere. I didn't even know I liked vintage clothes a couple weeks ago. Where did that come from? Well, I was watching this show on Netflix with one of the most obnoxious people I've ever seen, and it's called Slobby's World. I can show you how obnoxious this guy is. Roll the clip.
I'm Slobby Robby. I'm the owner of Generation Cool, the dopest 80s and 90s vintage store in the universe. I deal exclusively with 1980s and 1990s vintage clothes.
Band ones and their dead stock.
We specialize in pop culture items, clothes, sneakers, toys, collectibles, posters, advertisements. I collect Gucci, bootleg Gucci, MCM, all kinds of luxury stuff. You name it, anything from those 2 decades.
So this dude is into vintage 90s jerseys and a lot of pop culture gear. So I was thinking, all right, maybe I should sell vintage pop culture also. Then that idea was too direct of a ripoff of him for my liking. So I tried to find something that was more nostalgic for me. And I grew up in Las Vegas. We used to come here every weekend, just hang out with the family. I grew up in the 90s and saw all these Las Vegas clothes. So that's what I wanted to sell. So I went on eBay and I searched vintage Las Vegas t-shirt, vintage Las Vegas t-shirt, and found a decent amount of Las Vegas clothes from the 90s and the 80s. And I thought it was interesting, and I wanted to test in this $100 test to see if people would buy it. Because if you go over to Slobby Robby's website, generationcool.myshopify.com. This guy's a maniac. So if you go to his site, he has pricing on everything. You see this Cardinals jersey, $80. This Panthers jersey, $75. This jersey that's covered in dirt is $80. So I was thinking, maybe someone will pay more for a vintage Las Vegas jersey. And that was the test. So what did I do? I found a shirt that I liked on eBay. I grabbed the pictures from that listing, put them on my own eBay listing, and put the opening bid at 99 cents. And I'm not saying I did this test perfect. And actually, I'll tell you exactly what I'm going to change for the next one here, because this test was technically a failure. But I'm showing you this because every $100 test is not a failure if we learn things on the quest to make $1,000. For round 2 of this test, I've improved so much, you'll see. And I actually found a niche on eBay that will work for this, in theory. I got the vintage MGM shirt. I've got these pictures. Then what I did is I set up Facebook ads. For the $100 test, I put $100 into Facebook ads. And we'll see here, I did actually learn a couple things. So what I learned is my previous Facebook ads that I was testing for Whoa Hello. By the way, if you want this shirt, whoahello.com. It's a vintage Las Vegas tee inspired. Look at that, it's inspired by the old Mirage logo. So I did get something out of this test. What I was doing with the Instagram ads for Whoa Hello was pointing people towards our site, whoahello.com. What I've learned from this test is people will buy on eBay before they'll buy from a random third-party site. So what we ended up spending was $100 on 7 bids, which was a cost of $14.29 per bid. And at this price of 99 cents, that meant a net loss. This shirt sold for $5. I had to go buy this shirt off eBay, and I talked him down. He was selling it for 40. I talked the guy who was selling it down to 25. So I have this shirt, and I'm gonna send it out to this guy. But this experiment was a net loss. Here's what I learned. For vintage clothes, the targeting is almost exclusively male, 25 to 44. That's where we got 6 cents per click, 7 cents per click, very, very cheap clicks. And in terms of platform, almost exclusively the link clicks came from Facebook, which I thought was interesting because my theory going into this test was more people would buy on Instagram. And at least in this market with men 25 to 44, that doesn't seem to be the case. We had targeting on both Instagram and Facebook. I avoided the audience network because my experience has told me that that audience network on Facebook is not good. The one on AdWords is good. Google's audience network is great. This one wasn't very good. So here are the takeaways from this $100 test. 1, eBay works better than your own website for e-commerce. 2, I learned how to write Facebook ads for vintage items. And 3, I learned if I'm gonna spend $100 and make $1,000 on eBay, the product I'm selling has to have at least $1,000 profit margin baked into it. I actually decided on the $1,000 rule after this test because if I had that rule before, I never would have tried to sell this shirt. So what can we sell on eBay that has a market ready to buy and has a $1,000 profit margin baked in? So I did some research, and this will set us up for, if we're gonna do part 2 of this $100 test, this is where I would go with it. So I did a bunch of research on eBay, and eBay actually allows you to search pretty effectively. I went to collectibles, because I figured collectibles would stay in the vintage market, and I just clicked the first one, advertising, and I went one by one. And actually, let me show you this. On any eBay auction, you go over to any of the listings, you hit auction over $300, because it needed to be 1,000 plus. And then I sorted by number of bids most first. And what I was looking for was items that had high prices and a lot of bids on them. So for instance, this collectible advertising, this one has $1,400, a lot of bids, 10 hours left, $440. So these sell for a lot, but they don't sell for the pricing that we need. $1,000 profit margin on this clock would not work. We needed something higher. So I did keep doing research and I found one that has it. This is the secret market on Facebook that no one will tell you about. And what I found is arcade machines and pinball is a market that has the profit margin we need. So for instance, this Addams Family pinball machine has 19 bids on it and is selling for $4,800. Did this cost them $3,000? Did this cost them $2,000? No one knows. This skee ball machine, $1,000 is a little low. Jurassic Park machine, $1,800. So 7 bids on it. So if I'm going to do this $100 test again, the next step would be spending $100 on Instagram, Facebook ads, same exact thing, but pushing them towards a pop culture vintage pinball machine. Adding $1,000 to whatever the pricing is, or at least setting a reserve, and going from there. Addams Family is here, Jurassic Park. In my research, the most expensive one I found was a Beatles pinball machine. It looks like it's sold already. That was a couple days ago, and it was $14,000 for a Beatles pinball machine. So if we wanted to bake in our profit margin of $1,000, we could sell any of these. Star Trek pinball, this jukebox machine has 3 bids on it, $2,800, reserve not met. That's the market I would do the $100 test on, and I only found that by doing the $100 test on vintage Vegas clothes. And that's the takeaway from this $100 test. It lost money, but we learned a lot, and we found a new market that will make us money, or at least has the opportunity for us to spend $100 and make $1,000. Let me know down in the comments, what did you think? Anything we should change? Anything we're doing wrong and you're cringing at? Maybe about the Facebook ads? That's the part I'm most worried about, most self-conscious about, honestly, because I don't know much about Facebook ads. What do you think? Was this the best test you've ever seen? The worst test? Would love to know. Any ideas for $100 tests? Places we could spend $100 and make $1,000? If you got any ideas, I'd love to know down in the comments. Do you run a successful business that sells to other businesses but feel like you could be doing more? Well, at Experiment 27, that's exactly what we help other businesses do. Our focus is finding cornerstone clients, finding people in the Fortune 500 or finding brands that are over 15, 20, 30 million dollars in revenue, a lot of times billion-dollar brands, and using our marketing tactics such as cold email or targeted content to find those customers and sell them on your business. If that sounds interesting to you and you want to learn how we met with, it's most of the Fortune 500 at this point, along with dozens of billion-dollar brands, companies like Krispy Kreme, Walmart, Morgan Stanley, and a ton of other ones, go over to experiment27.com. We'd love to chat.
What you're really doing is super amazing. What I've been doing, it's been working, but what you had shown me to do here, it's unbelievable. I mean, I love that you gave me insight on my video. It was super awesome. I really believe that you're value focused because you cut my session, my hour session in half to see my results in another day. And I think that's super amazing. And I just wanted to thank you.
I've had a lot of fun making this series so far, so I look forward to doing more of these $100 tests. Subscribe if you're not already. We make videos 3 times a week all about sales and selling and marketing and living your best life, making money online. And I will catch you later. Goodbye.